All right. So this next topic, welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to talk about how you can actually get 3.23% financing APR through Tesla financing, or actually Tesla leasing financing, because leasing is just like another way to finance a vehicle. And there is actually a way to actually get that low, sweet APR of 3.24%. But you have to lease. I found an actual breakdown of where it actually shows this, and it's maybe it is a decent deal to go through this avenue if you feel like it's worth it. I mean, and we'll talk about why you should actually lease with this type of payment as well. So if you're just joining in, my name is Dennis. I love talking about Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on a Tesla at the best possible price, or just getting really good financing on your Tesla. So if you're interested in any of that, please hit that subscribe. And today's video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link down below in the description, but more on that later. All right, so let's take a look at this. This kind of all stemmed out from yesterday when Tesla put on their homepage on their website, Tesla Model 3 leasing starting at $399 a month. And spoiler alert, that to get to that $399 a month payment, you have to have incentives, whether it's a discounted price somewhere or a lower financing rate, because leasing is just another way of financing. Even though you don't actually own the car, there's still interest, there's still fees, there's a bunch of stuff that goes into it. And so this might be where Tesla is hiding or implementing the $7,500 tax credit, because with other manufacturers out there, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, even Volkswagen, there is, when you lease a vehicle from them, because it's an EV, they pass that $7,500 tax credit right to you. But taking a look at this lease, because if you go to tesla.com support/Tesla leasing, and we got it down to factor into the lease right here, you can see there's a monthly payment of $399. They've got a variety of payments or fees listed down here. But taking a look at this, there it is right there, 3.23% financing APR on the lease. Now, what's different, right? When you lease a vehicle, you're only financing what you use, because there's like residual value and stuff like that. We can kind of go into it a little bit more if you guys want me to, and talk about how leasing actually works. But you're only financing what you use. You're only financing that portion of that 3-year use portion of that. So to kind of quickly sum it up, like if the vehicle price is $43,000 or $44,000, they're factoring in, there's 3 different numbers you have to take a look at. There's residual value, which basically means how much of that, what's the percentage of the value of that vehicle at the end of the lease. And then there's a money factor, which money factor is basically APR or financing of a lease. And so what you're financing is what you use. So if they feel like, or if Tesla sets the residual value, or the banks that Tesla's work with set the residual value. So if the price of the vehicle is $44,000, and they say, in the end of 3 years, that vehicle is going to be worth 50% of the vehicle value. So let's say about $21,500, you're basically financing the other 50%, $21,500, over that 3-year term. And that equals to that lease payment. So that's why leasing is just another way of financing a vehicle. And you can see right here, as clear as day, they're saying that the lease APR is 3.23%, which that sounds phenomenal, right? At the end of the day. But the one thing that's different here, that's not with other manufacturers, is that there is no line item for the $7,500 tax credit. When you lease, like we could quickly try and pull up like a Volkswagen ID4 lease. If you look at any of the offers, you can see that there is a $7,500 tax credit looped into that price. It's just line item on the offer. Let's see if I can try and find a payment for this, so we can see it in, like, none of these for some reason are going to the actual Volkswagen website. They're all going to like ads and stuff like this. I don't want to click on the ad because I don't want to charge them, but I guess we will at the end of the day. But let's see. So $7,500, receive a $7,500 EV lease bonus. And so it's right here, $7,500. It's in fine print, so sorry if you can't read it. $7,500 EV lease bonus cash. So on the deal, on the structure, it is factored in $7,500 right off the price of the vehicle. But taking a look at this, I mean, they're somehow giving you or giving the customer a 3.23% rate. So Paul, if you're actually watching, they might be using the $7,500 lease cash, maybe holding half of it for themselves and giving the other half to buy down the rate. Because if you were to go to finance, we know that the finance leasing on Tesla financing is the Tesla financing rate is 5.34%. And so on the Tesla leasing, that's over 2 points less. So they could be using a portion of that 7,500 because they get it. Every single time Tesla leasing, if they're leasing through Tesla financing, they get that $7,500 credit to Tesla. They can choose to pass to the customer, and whereas some of these other companies like Volkswagen are passing it straight to the customer, Tesla, it looks like, might be either holding some of it or using some of it to get a lower lease payment, which then would equal this $399 a month. So I mean, why should you consider this? Why should you lease? I mean, there's certainly a lot of drawbacks. We can go through the drawbacks first with Tesla leasing. The first one, and probably the biggest one, and why I've never recommended leasing a Tesla, is because you are, just like Hapo Hippie is saying, is you are renting the vehicle. And it's really a lot more prominent with Tesla because you cannot buy out that vehicle at any moment to take advantage of the equity if there's any sort of profit. And you must give it back to Tesla at the end of the lease. Whereas if you lease other manufacturer cars, almost all of them, you get the option at the end to buy it. So it's basically a better way of a risk mitigation because you're leasing it. And then at the end, if you want to buy it, you could buy it. Or if you don't want to buy it and you want to get a new car, you can return it. But with Tesla leasing, that is not the case. You must give it back to Tesla. And that's true with the Model 3 and the Model Y. And so all that equity you've paid down, you basically give it all to Tesla, and then Tesla can take advantage of the market and resell it as a used car for whatever they want to. The other reasons why, that's like pretty much the only reason why you wouldn't consider the Tesla leasing, or why you shouldn't consider Tesla leasing. But there's other benefits to Tesla leasing. If you're writing it off for a business and you want like a cleaner paperwork because it's a fee and all that stuff, and you want to just use that, payment to write off, that could be a consideration why you would want to lease. Another reason, if you just don't want to deal with it, right? You just want to lease a car, pay a certain amount of payments each month, and then get a new one, because maybe you feel like Tesla Model 3 values are going to go down anyways because of a next generation Highland, a new one coming out maybe next year. So you want a short-term thing or a 3-year thing that you don't have to worry about trying to mess with any of the buying and reselling after that. So that could be a pro to some people because they don't want to deal with it. But, I feel like we want to take advantage of any equity certainly as possible. And the third reason, why Tesla leasing might make a lot of sense, and this is actually a pretty big reason, is if you don't qualify for the $7,500 tax credit. If this is confirmed that Tesla is using a portion of that, or at least giving the portion of the tax credit to the deal structure to get to this 3.23% APR, then that would make a lot of sense. Because if you're someone that did not qualify for the tax credit anyways, like if you're someone that makes above these stipulations, makes above $150,000 or $300,000 as a married couple, then it might make sense to get something out of it, right? So that's why leasing might make sense, because then you would get that $7,500 tax rate, at least, or some of the $7,500 tax rate. I mean, I'm still waiting for confirmation if that's how they're getting to this 3.23% APR, but it only makes sense because this was definitely not 3.23% APR in Tesla leasing. That's for sure before this, but definitely some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, this goes to show that Tesla is thinking creatively, that's for sure, to get around some of this, or use that $7,500 tax credit on leases commercially or as a commercial bank. But I would love to see them incentivize it for more. I mean, they certainly probably are testing this on the market with this new banner essentially on their website, $399 a month. And so my question to you is this a good deal? Do you think like $399 a month for a Tesla Model 3 is where it's at? And if you're in New Jersey, it seems like this is where it's at. I could probably strongly recommend it because there is no sales tax, it seems like, for EVs in New Jersey. So this is a deal broken down by Chris Dungeon on Twitter, where it seems like you can get essentially a Tesla Model 3 for $399 a month. because there's no sales tax. I mean, there's probably other fees, DMV fees or something like that, but still, a brand new Model 3 for $399 a month with $10,000 down, that seems like a pretty good deal at the end of the day. But let me know what your guys' thoughts on that. That's for sure. But we're going to jump into our next topic, but before we get, or we're going to jump into the comments, but before we do that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon. Down below in the description, there's a Patreon where you can support the channel, and there's a variety of benefits, but some of them include actually scheduling a call with me where you can ask me any questions one-on-one about buying a Tesla, selling a Tesla, or even financing a Tesla. And after you schedule the call, you get a link to my buying guide, which has links to all the resources that I use to get the best possible deal at the best possible price. And right now on my buying guide, there is a credit union that has interest rates as low as 3% for 60 months. So definitely check it out if you're interested. And as an added benefit, I respond to all DMs or direct messages into my Patreon members in the Patreon app. So definitely check it out if you are interested. But definitely some interesting stuff. I mean, it exists. I never thought I'd see the day where I would see 3.23% APR on a Tesla lease right now. So I mean, maybe Tesla will get creative. I mean, this goes to show if Tesla opens up Tesla Financing LLC and starts to write deals on loans, they could pull on a lot of demand levers if they need to. That's for sure. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments and some of the questions. It seems like leasing seems to be a hot topic for you all, especially with this 3.23% or $399 a month payment. But it's cool that we were able to find this page where it broke out some of the deal a little bit to show this 3.23% APR. Baka's World, I feel like Tesla is going to offer discounts for the Model 3 toward the end of